Live. Welcome back again to another episode of the LANCESCURV show. Again, we are live, and we're going to talk about something today that might help us understand why we are the way we are. I'm not throwing off on anybody and saying you're crazy or something's wrong with you or whatever, but we are the way we are for different reasons. And I'm a little sweaty because I just got out the shower. I feel real clean. I feel real good in my soundproof studio. I can scream. I can't hear any noise outside. Nobody can hear me. It's the ultimate in privacy and self-expressions. Yes, we're on X. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube, of course. We're on Rumble right now. We're everywhere. So this is January. This is the first month of the year, the first round of a 12-round fight. We've been training for the fight all last year. We coming out swinging. Everything's working well. And I'm very happy about it. But today's show is dopamine dependency and the unhealthy attachments we love to hate. And what does that mean? You ever get with somebody? Let's just talk regular, right? You ever get with somebody and they're all that? I mean, they're so perfect. They treat you nice. They blow your mind in many ways. We'll keep it decent here. And you realize that they're toxic for you. They're no good for you. You really, really understand that they're no good for you. It's not one of those situations where one of your girlfriends come by, one of your buddies come by, if you're a dude, and say, hey, man, she's no good for you. Or your girlfriend's a girl, he's no good for you. It's not that. You know it. And you can't let go. It's just something about this person that keeps you locked in. So I'm going to read from my notes from immediate, and we're going to open up the lines later on. And we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about because I'd like to admit that maybe I was like that at one point with a particular person. I don't know. Maybe you were, right? Starts like this. The modern world is a paradox. We're more connected than ever before. Social media, messaging apps, and virtual platforms dominate our lives. Yet loneliness is at an all-time high. Humans, by nature, are wired for meaningful social interaction. But in this age of isolation, where the depth of our connections often falls short, something peculiar has emerged: an addiction to people, fueled by our brain's dopamine system. In this episode of the LANCESCURV show, I'm going to explore how dopamine, our brain's pleasure chemical, drives unhealthy obsessions and attachments, and how these are exacerbated by modern societal norms. From obsession with authority figures to unpredictable partners, I'm going to break down 10 examples of dopamine addiction, complete with insights and practical advice. I want to dive deep on this, y'all. Buckle your seatbelt. The unpredictable partner, the gamble of emotional whiplash. Now, in each one that I explain, out of these next 10, I could have come up with 25. If I meditated long enough, I could have come up with 50. But I'll say that these are the main ones. Unpredictable relationships are like emotional slot machines. Right? And I want to check on one thing real quick. Yes, we're good. One moment, your partner is distant and cold. The next, they're showering you with affection. This inconsistency is a textbook example of intermittent reinforcement, a psychological principle often associated with gambling. When someone gives you small, sporadic doses of kindness, your brain rewards you with a surge of dopamine, leaving you hooked on the possibility of more. Here's an example. Think of the toxic partner who ghosted you for days, only to show up with flowers and an apology. That moment of kindness feels euphoric because it's rare. The cycle repeats, leaving you chasing a high that becomes harder to achieve. Maybe that person, they've been doing something they shouldn't be doing, right? And they're trying to shower you with some love to make up for it. But that's sad. And that's not the way things should go. You know what I mean? We always have to deal with people like that. But do we have to tolerate it? Why are we hooked on them? Do we think that we're not good enough? Do we think that we can't get any better? I don't know. I don't know what hangups are. I don't know what your idiosyncrasies are. That's one of my favorite words. But one thing's for certain, it's not just their fault. We blame them. Oh, yeah, they ghosted me. They haven't spoke to me in 5 days. They haven't come around. I wondered if it was somebody else. Then they come back and give you all this love and shower you with all this love. Seems like they're controlling you, and they know they can control you because they already know your weakness. You're not hooked on them. You're hooked on the dopamine hit. And the dopamine hit is really, really a true thing. It's a real thing. Let's go on to the next one. Authority figures. Replacing parental wounds. When we lose a parent or experience neglect, the subconscious mind often seeks out replacements. This can manifest as an obsession with authority figures, mentors, bosses, or older partners. These individuals symbolize the nurturing or guidance we missed. Here's an example. A man who lost his father at a young age may form an intense attachment to older male mentors, mistaking professional support for emotional fulfillment. The same applies to women seeking maternal figures, like the TikToker who developed an obsession with female authority due to unresolved grief over losing her mother. Now, we can make a whole show on this one, but I'm not going to do that. But I do want to talk about this a little more in depth. A lot of relationships that have been manipulated into sexual relationships that are improper, it was because the person who was the predator in that relationship, who wanted the physical intimacy or physical friction because it wasn't true intimacy, they saw that void inside of you. They saw that young girl or older woman who missed the relationship with her father. And he can see by his little tests that he can get her to damn near do anything. Now, he may not say it's because of this or that. He's feeling around. He's feeling around for something. But what about that nerdy guy who went to college and did everything right, has a great career, a boatload of cash, but he's like 550 pounds, got a big gap in his tooth and breath that smells like Limburger cheese and a bald spot, but he's only like 22 years old or 24 years old. He never had the attention of a woman. He never had the adoration of a woman. But now maybe this woman that sees him, who sees the cash that he makes, gives him what he wants, touches him on the side of the face. Oh, I was thinking about you. She might even pinch his nipple for a sexual thrill. She makes him feel like he's the only man in the world and he doesn't know how to handle this. And he doesn't know how to love a woman. He doesn't know how to gauge real love from a woman. He sees this fake attention, but doesn't know whether it's real or fake, authentic, or a knockoff. So what does he do? Or how does she manipulate him? Oh, I would love to see you next Friday, but I'm going to have to work on my day off because I'm a bit short on my bills. Manipulation. So he thinks, ooh, this feels so good. I can be the savior. I can treat her nice. She needs money and I have lots of money. Don't worry about it. Don't go to work on Friday. As a matter of fact, take the weekend off also. Spend it with me. Oh, really? You'll give me the money? I would love to spend the time with you. And guess what? He gives her all the money for the bills, pays off the bills for the next 3 months. I'm making it up. Nobody really does that. Maybe they do. I don't know. Right? And so she's supposed to come by his place 11 a.m. They're going to go out and have a late breakfast or early lunch or brunch or whatever have you, but she never shows up. He's wondering why. She treated me so nice and I helped her out. So why isn't she here? Because she says she wants to be with me. She didn't want to be with you, bro. She wanted your money. But you fell in love with that dopamine hit that she gave you of something that doesn't really exist because she found out your wiring and manipulated you. And that's how it goes. Let's take it a step further. Let's go even more adult. We have a young man who never really had a father and didn't have any male figures in his life. So he goes through his young ages, 7, 8 years old, 5 years old, always admiring his friends who had fathers. He always wanted to have his own father. The other fathers of his friends extended themselves and made him feel that energy, made him feel the righteous love. And I got this big shirt that I'm wiping my forehead with because there's all these lights on and my windows are closed. So pay me no mind. So he gravitates toward the male energy. Oh, he likes girls and everything. But that biggest void in his life is never having a father. So one day there's a new man that moves around the corner and he's very friendly with everybody. He comes to the cookouts, he comes to the block parties, he's very friendly, but he has a very odd work schedule, right? And he doesn't seem to have anybody in his life like a woman or other family members. So nobody really thought anything about it because he's so nice. Well, this young man gravitated toward him around the age of 14, 15. And this older man always said, well, you know, I know you need money. I know that, you know, times are hard out here. You need a little extra spending cash. I'd love it if you can come over and help me out. And he does this for several people in the neighborhood, so it doesn't look suspect. But this one particular time, and the older man has patience, he had this young boy come over. Let's call the boy John, right? Since I said a young boy. So John thought nothing of it because he's used to being inside this person's house, this older man's house. He's not an older man like he's 80 or anything like that. He's an older man because he's about 14 and this man's about 40 years old. So he's over there and he finishes a little bit of work and he gets paid. And he says, well, you know, there's a big boxing match coming on tonight. I don't know if you want to see it. You can stay and see it. So, you know, John called his folks and said, hey, I'm going to watch the boxing match. And this man shrewdly said, anybody that you know wants to see it, tell them to come on over. Well, John felt like, I'm not going to share this male energy and this attention that I'm getting. This guy's got a refrigerator full of snacks. There's a boxing match on. I'm getting the male energy. I'm here with him. No, I'm not calling nobody else. And that's what the older man wanted. Because the older man, the only thing in that room that's straight, other than John at the time, is the ruler sitting on the table to measure out and keep things in the straight edge. Because that older man, he ain't interested in no women. That older man ain't interested in no man his age. That older man is a gay pedophile. But John doesn't know this. And John doesn't know that he's being groomed. So he's enjoying the time that he has with this older man who now he feels saturated. I have a father figure, and he doesn't think this consciously, but he's feeling it. And it feels good, just righteously in his mind. And the older man is just sitting there like, it's just a matter of time. So the fight is over. John's going to go around the corner to his house, but it's okay because his family knows. His mother is there with her girlfriends. They're a little tipsy, one of them kind of households, they're drinking. And she doesn't think anything of it because all the people in the neighborhood are still out. There's block parties, different things going on. So John's all right. He's not leaving from around the corner. And it gets a little later. So the older man has multiple channels on his cable or his satellite, whichever one he has. And so he tells John, I'm going to go upstairs and take a shower really quick. Here, take the remote control, thumb around. I know you don't have cable or satellite. Watch what you want. And he has a lot of the channels locked off, but a lot of the adult channels are open. So little Johnny is down there, clicking around. Ooh, that's what it looks like. That's what they do. And after the ooh is over with, he feels a stirring in his loins. And that man is finished with his shower and he's looking down. See, this is how these things happen. And so the man walks down and catches Johnny watching. And Johnny's shocked. He's trying to get the remote. The remote's all over the place. Remember when Scarface, at the end of Scarface, before he was killed, they were coming for him, and he was on the phone, and the cocaine was in front of him, and he was with the phone like this. Well, this is what the guy's trying to do with the remote control. to try to get to it, to knock that channel off, because he doesn't want this man seeing him watching that stuff. Never did he question, why does a man have it on? I mean, this is right. So that's all he wanted to get to. So he lets them know, listen, it's okay. I was a young man too, whatever. Anytime you want to come over to watch anything or boxing or sports, you can feel free. I'm not going to stretch this out any longer. He begins to show him things, and they watch things together, and they start experimenting. And this male energy that this man knows that this kid wants is the hook to pull him in for homosexual activity. And this is what happens a lot. A lot of people I've talked to, they've admitted to me different things, and you hear different things. Remember, I used to work in the jail and in the prison, and a couple of times I went to the investigations where they have the inmates who claim they were raped. They had to go and get and answer all these questions. You can't leave the investigator really by himself, right? So you got to kind of be near. So you're hearing all of these things about the sex life of these young guys or older guys. They have to ask everything from A to Z. I learned some things I don't want to know. And it's funny how that's a common story where when they were younger, they were groomed that way. I'm not saying everybody who flies with the rainbow had origins that way, but there are many men, young black men, all men, many men who had to deal with that, right? So we don't know how people can discern our voids, how they can discern our I'm not going to say weakness, it's just a void, what we want. You know, have you ever like wanted ice cream so bad and went over to somebody's house and it's like, whoa, I want ice cream. Perfect timing. Who knows what was in that ice cream? So this is what we have to be careful of with people and how they attempt to groom us, because we all are not full from childhood. We all have maybe something, and it may not be something as major as wanting the male energy of a father, where an imposter comes in and sees this and manipulates it for his own carnal endeavors, or maybe missing a mother and somebody comes in. It doesn't have to be just that type of thing. It could be an older woman on a job who's motherly to you, and she manipulates you for your money, right? You know, a strange phenomenon. People say, you have some people who are kind of angry that they didn't have family coming up, or the traditional family. And I'm kind of going off the topic to come back on. I don't need no family. I don't want no family. Now, in any woman's prison, and sometimes jail, because jail is temporary, it's a year or less. Prison is a year or more, so you settle in more. In the female prisons, it seems like automatically there's a hierarchy that is formed as a substitute for what many didn't have or for what they may need. I don't mean it's always a lesbian thing. You always have that woman who is the mother. You always have the other inmates who are grown too, who may be a little younger, who they're like the family. They're like different sisters. They play different roles. They're not playing because this automatically happens. This automatically happens outside of incarceration, even in normal groupings of people who may be friends or co-workers. There's always that one or two, but usually that one that's more dominant, and that person's the automatic leader. And the rest of the group, they don't submit like, I can't do anything and I'm done without you, but they kind of, okay, you can be, because maybe you're better than that, you know, for that position, and maybe I'm not good enough. And there's a lot of I'm not good enough people out here who are trying to front like they know it all. So there's always a level, there's always a hierarchy that forms after a while, where there's a team leader, or in a prison where there's women's prisons, you know, there's that woman who's the mother who everybody goes to when they're hurting, you know, and it's a family. I've seen this. They don't say we are a family and this one is this one, but you can tell by the proximity to each other who, and I don't see this as much in men who are incarcerated. It's more of a different thing. But with women, it's evident, which shows that it doesn't say that men are better than women, but many women need this. They need the family structure. And when they get that, it's so healing. And the men need it too, but in a different way. You see what I mean? This is why family is so important. And this is why we all have interlocking roles. You see? But before you get with anybody, you have to know your voids and you have to know their voids. Let me go on and make the next point, because I can do 10 shows off of that one. Right? Unavailable people. And again, as I speak about these different ways of dopamine dependencies, I'm not saying like I'm learning too, because I researched this and I wrote this stuff out, and I'm learning too. But look within yourself to see if anything fits, even partially, even the you of 10 years ago, the you of 20 years ago. See? Unavailable people, chasing what you can't have. Humans have a curious tendency to crave what's out of reach. When someone is emotionally unavailable, the longing intensifies, triggering a dopamine-driven obsession. This is often rooted in childhood experiences where love felt conditional or elusive. Here's an example. You might find yourself obsessed with a partner who refuses to commit. The more they pull away, the harder you try. Convinced that winning their affection will fill the void within you. Here's a spoiler. It won't. It won't. And see, so many of us, I have to say, will go years chasing that person who's emotionally unavailable. We could have other people, and let's say we're not in a relationship with that person, but we're trying to get into a relationship with that person. We're not trying to be sneaky about it. We're obvious, like, listen, I want to get with you. I want to be with you. And they may let you take them out on a date, or they'll go out on a date with you or whatever have you, but they don't really, you have a nice time and you see potential in this thing and you're like, wonder why. You know, people are after me. All the boxes with me are checked. I am a catch. They don't seem to be interested. And we fight hard for this person. And it seems like the more they pull away, the more they are just not there. And we try to figure it out. You see, everybody is not going to act in a way that is so predictable or expected. There are people out here who have some mental issues. There's some people out here who are afraid of love. There's some people out here who they're emotionally unavailable because in their childhood, they don't know how to be emotionally available. And here we are chasing after them, but the parts are missing. And at some point, they really don't even want the parts because maybe love scares them. Maybe love frightens them. They don't know love, and it hurts them to realize that they have never had it. I know families, whole families, where nobody hugs each other. I know whole families where affection is never really showed that way. We need to touch, we need to hug. We need to say, I love you and mean it. We need to show care. Did you eat today? Come on in. Let me prepare something. You know, here's $5. Here's not $5. I'm telling my age because you can't go to McDonald's and eat $5. I wouldn't even say to eat McDonald's, right? But here's $25. Go to McDonald's and get something to eat. That doesn't feel good. Some parents give money, but they never give affection. They never let the child know how much they really care to sit down at a dinner table, look you right in your eye, and say, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? You know, I noticed something right now I want to talk to you about. I'm very concerned. Let them know. It's a very touchy situation or topic I want to talk about, but I'm not doing this to put you down. I want you to learn something. I want to teach you something today because I love you. See, there's a lot of people that never got that. And so when they get older and they get around the opposite sex, and they may even want to have that exchange, but they don't know. In their household, they never had it. So how are they going to give it? And so we chase after something sometimes that we can't have because that person is not whole and not complete. And none of us really leave this life, oh, I'm so complete now, I'm so full, I'm ready to transition. No. We become better. Hopefully we become better each year that passes by. but none of us is perfect. We're all going to learn something about ourselves, if not every day, every season. I'm going to say it again, and I said it before. How many of us have said, I'll never do that. I ain't never going to do that. Whatever it may be, you're in a discussion with a friend. You say, I might do this, but I'm not doing that. 2 years later, you are doing that. Whatever it may be. Don't think sexual. No, you could think that way too. But just stuff that you said you won't do. It's just like kids that turn their nose up at certain types of dishes when they're younger. I'm not eating that. I ain't eating no broccoli. I don't like no broccoli. They said, well, get hungry, and if you will eat it one day, I'm never eating it. And maybe your mother passes away and never saw you eat broccoli. Now you're broke. The only thing you got in the fridge is broccoli because of the person that you live with near out of town, but you're broke. You don't have any money. You can't cash the check until tomorrow. The money doesn't hit the bank until tomorrow. And you hungry now. And you start looking at that broccoli. You got a little cheese in there too. And you're like, you eating it? This ain't so bad. Life will teach you these things. But stop running after people who are just not, and it hurts. Because the people that you may be chasing that are not available, they don't know how much they're hurting you. Because there's a piece of them that's missing that piece of their emotional makeup. And now you're hurting and they say, well, I understand. They might even tell you, I understand, and I'm just not ready for the relationship. Well, you got to back up from that situation because they're not going to change. And the funny part about it is when you back up, not to say I'm going to act cold to you now, but you let it take its course and fall off. It's like when you have a piece of chicken that's well cooked and the meat falls off the bone. When the fruit is ripe in the tree, the fruit just falls. It doesn't sit there and just overripen. It just gets so heavy and laden with water and it's full and it's ready to be eaten. Poof, it falls down. Let it take its natural course and stop wasting your time. And you have to check these signs early when you're with somebody or trying to be with somebody where they allow you in their world and you think it means something, but it's not only going but so far. That's a fact. Let's go on to the next point. Social media influencers, the illusion of connection. Ooh, this is going to be a good one. I probably have a lot of stories for this. In the age of Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, which is no longer available in the United States, which it might come back. And I want to talk about that later on another live. We're just doing all these lives, right? Parasocial relationships, one-sided attachments to public figures are common. These influencers provide the illusion of intimacy through consistent content, making their followers feel seen and understood. Example, a lonely individual might develop an obsession with a YouTuber or TikToker who shares relatable struggles, mistaking the curated connection for genuine friendship. Yes, this happens, and it's something that is not good. Because in this day and age, I will say this, we have more ways of communicating. We have more apps in our phone. We got Messenger, we got Facebook, we got TikTok. Well, I still got TikTok. I'm not teasing y'all, right? In America. All the social, LinkedIn. Let me tell you something. You got some weird social media platforms out here. Look, I should pull this up before I say anything more. Let me pull something up. I got to pull this up. Because people think, yeah, well, I know all of the platforms. No, you don't. I thought I knew all of them. It's weird. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Let me click the right thing here. Let's check a list. Let me give out some of the names of some of these platforms that I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you some names. I'm looking at it right now. Facebook, Mastodon. I'm giving you a few ones, Blue Sky, Pinterest, WhatsApp, email, Tumblr, Bib Tsunami, Druagime, Kakao, Me, Mixie, Plurk, Qzone, Teams, YCOP, Diary Roo, Known, MySpace is still there, Pocket, Raindrop.io, Slashdot, Zing, Viber, Threads, we know Threads, Snapchat, Adnak Lasniki, Hacker News, FARC. It's like fart. Diaspora Blue. Look, that's half the list. Hey Tina, MeWe, Print Friendly, Refine, Stock Tweets, Threema, some kind of kinky something. VK, I know that's Russian. Yumly, sounds like a food app. Trello, Savajo, Sinawaibo, Pusher, Push It Real Good, Papali, House, Folt, Dejo, Balatarin. Look, that's not even 1/10 of the list. I just had to share that with you. It's crazy. And what I mean to say is that there's so many social media platforms out here and so many ways to connect. And there are many people out here through no fault of their own that have become isolated because of hurtful situations in their life. They broke up or somebody gave them a disease or something, whatever. There's all kinds of ways that we cut off from the outside world. And we feel it's safe to pick up our phone and go and follow some of these people. And they resonate with us. And we connect with them. And they become our father, our brother, our next door neighbor, our friend from a distance. But many of us don't have the filters or have the wherewithal to not let what we feel from them permeate the deepest recesses of our soul. It's true. And many of these people, if they happen to be in an extreme situation, their life is blurred. The line between the internet and cyberspace, this personality who may be sincere, and that person who they don't even know exists. Worse if they can communicate with them. It doesn't mean if you communicate with the social media influencer something wrong or you're lonely or this. No, it doesn't mean that stuff. But you got to think, out of the millions and millions and millions of people, if you're popular enough, you're going to have some situations. You're going to have some situations. And I can tell a lot, but I'm not going to say. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But this thing is real. This whole internet thing, it's lopsided. We need real connections. We can have real connections through cyberspace. You meet people in a chat room, you meet an influencer, or you're doing some type of collaboration across genres. You might be a YouTuber, this person may be in a certain industry, and you talk about the parallels and you do different things. And you forge a great relationship. There's nothing wrong with that. This is the modern day and age. But not only do you have to filter the individuals to make sure they're tried and true, even if they're legit in a certain area of expertise, it doesn't mean they're not an axe murderer. It doesn't mean they're not a scammer or will scam you if they have the opportunity, if they never did it before, but the opportunity is there. Or this man might get rough with you because you met him, you feel you can trust him, you are attracted to him, and you invited him up to your place, but you both are tipsy. He's always been gentle, but now he's on top of you, taking your stuff. You wanted to give it to him, but not like that. So now you're turned off and the police are involved now. Look, there's a lot of situations that are happening out here that people are not talking about because they're ashamed it happened over social media. Now, I can't let my church members find out that I was on that old Facebook and I met that man and he did that to me. He took me for all that money. He did this, he did that. Yo, I'm going to say it that way. There's a lot of situations out here that people are like, oh, I'm not telling nobody about that. That's too embarrassing. You got dudes who are flying women out. Social media, and they fly, I'm going to fly you out. And they don't even have to be a social media influencer. And there are a lot of women who want that. He's going to fly me out, put me up in the hotel, treat me into restaurants and help me get my hair done and all this and all that. And now you're sitting up abused with bruises on you up in that same hotel and you don't know who this man was. He didn't even look like the man he showed you the picture. See, some people, and again, this is another subject that I can talk about at another time. Some people construct false social media identities that they work on 3, 4, 5 of them over 2 and 3 years. So it's not this mysterious thing where there's no profile picture, no history, no information. They're showing you stuff on that manufactured profile page to win your trust over. Because, you know, we check people out. Let me check this dude out. Let me check this woman out. You see her friends, or you see his friends. You see, okay, he does work there. Does he really? If he said he was an executive at FedEx, he might have walked in there to use the bathroom, and there's a greeter there. There's a woman there at the front desk, and there's a big sign there, and he's in a suit, and he took a leak in the bathroom and turned around real quick. Quick! Oh, he does work at FedEx. Big dough in the house. Oh, you're still with me, brother, on Instagram. And welcome everybody else who's there. Big dough. You see the background, right? Things are going good. I got to talk to you, man, for real. Whenever we can. Even if you're gone, I'm still going to reach out to you. Big dough in the house. We go a long way back. That's a brother I can trust. You see me go through a lot. And he's not on YouTube right now. He's on Instagram, right? But anyway, let me get. I'm all discombobulated. I want to talk about a few things to my brother there, right? But that's how it goes. And it can be an illusion. It can be real. It could be an extension of something like, okay, I haven't seen Big Doe in a while. Last time I saw him was in Orlando in my home. And that was a while back. But we have a real relationship face to face. And so now anything on social media is still real. We came out here and said, hey, man, come on to the house. Here's the keys. Here's the car. I'm gone, whatever. Trust him. I know him. And you can have that through social media, but you have to have extra steps. Because let me tell you something. There are a lot of frauds out here. This is like, woo, I can get over. Look, at the same token, you can know people in real life, right? And you don't know them. You've been laying up next to them for years, and you don't know them. You've been swapping crotch sauce with them for years. Intimate on so many different levels, and you don't really know them. So vet everybody, damn it. You got to. You got to. That's the only way in this world. Let's move on to the next point. Okay, let me find the right page here. Romantic fantasies, the dopamine of daydreams. Sometimes the obsession isn't with a real person, but with the idea of them. This often occurs in love, where the what if scenarios dominate your thoughts, creating an emotional high. Here's an example. That crush on a coworker who barely knows you exist. Your brain's dopamine reward system lights up every time you imagine a romantic scenario with them, even if it's purely fantasy. Let me tell you something. That's real. That's real. You have so many people who are in possibly many romantic relationships with you, and you don't know what the hell's going on. It's in their mind. We're adults. We can talk. Oh, that's the next show, y'all. Hit the wrong button. No, but seriously. You sitting at home, mind your business, get rid of those off and go back to work. Say it's a coworker. They home, masturbating, thinking about you. Come on now, let's be real. You don't even know this. How many times have you actually got with somebody? And after a while, you know, you get to the point of a full circle of relationship, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And in a moment of passion, or maybe as you're basking in the afterglow of that mutual orgasm, this woman is laying there, or it could be the man laying next to the woman, or the woman next to the man, whatever. Let's just say it's the woman telling the man. She said, you just don't know how long I wanted you. What? Yeah. I've been checking you out for 7 years. And you only been with each other for 4 months. And you only knew like for 5 or 6 months, and it developed into something. But you don't know how deeply rooted emotions and feelings can go. And this other person never knew. And lots of times it's not going to manifest itself in a real relationship. But there's some people who just, they're in love with love. And they kind of tack it on to you, what they're feeling. It's just like this. I have a buddy of mine. I can't say his name. But in every relationship then that got to be sexual, I figured it out because he tells me everything. You know, we grew up from single digit ages and he tells me everything. And with his sexual preferences, which is nothing out of the ordinary, just, I'm smiling, I'm gonna tell it, right? Whoever he's with, it's gotta be the same scenarios. Now, people want to play out fantasies and stuff. I understand that people have a knack for this or a knack for that. We all are that way. No matter if it's not just sex, food. Me, I'm weird. When I get pizza, I put ketchup on it. That's just the way I am, right? With me, one of my favorite snacks is watermelon and peanut butter. Nice, cold, sweet watermelon. And go take a little scoop of the peanut butter. I don't know. So we're all individuals, right? Now don't laugh at me because I know y'all got some funny things about you. Look, I'm brave to get up here and the whole world hear me. But with him, what turns him on is a ready-made template that he overlays on whoever he's with. So in essence, it's not about the individuality of the woman and her nuances that get him going, her personality, her stuff. It's like, okay, you're a female body, bottom line, you're a female body, and this is what gets me off. Wear this wig, wear this particular type of skirt, wear this particular type of stiletto heels, walk around this way. He's got to videotape him. Told too much. So is it the woman or is it this thing in his head? Why is he fetishizing women? So does he really care about the woman or is it just the body? Now for the woman who's with him, he may think that, oh, he loves me. I'm doing this for him because he enjoys this, not realizing he did this with 10 other women. And they become objects. And he will tell them he loves them because he can get what he wants on a sexual gratification level, not understand that it takes more than just the friction of an orgasm or what's in your head. But he never really knew these women and never really knew him. Do you know yourself? There's a lot of complex things going on with people that we got to figure out. I'm just weird enough to sit here and start to think about all of these things, but it's true. It's really true. It's really true. Next point. Overly nurturing friends, substituting emotional needs. Some people lean on friends excessively, seeking them out for emotional validation, rather than healthy mutual support. This often stems from unmet emotional needs in childhood. Example, you might have that one friend who always plays the therapist. While they're supportive, your over-reliance on them for emotional stability can become unhealthy, creating an attachment rooted in dependence. Now, let me just say that I have no problem, and I think it's quite healthy if you're going through something, that you have that friend that you can go to for any type of advice. You may have lost a loved one, and losing a loved one, and I don't really think it's a loss. It's a transition, and the energies are still there, and we're going to go to that same place if we do what we're supposed to do properly. Not religious, but spirituality. But it's a void. You're sitting on the couch as a young boy and you have like your family, your brothers and sisters, if you have brothers and sisters, or if you have a bunch of people sitting on that wide couch. It's made for 3 people, but a 70-year-old squeezing, watching the TV, and one gets up and goes to to the bathroom, and then they don't tell anybody but they go to bed. Now there's a space there. And you're sitting up, leaning up, waiting for them to come back, but they never come back. So you start to say, hey, let me relax. Are you coming back to watch the show? No? Oh, okay. I got more space on the couch. Right? So there are little voids that happen, and we need to have people in our corner who we can depend on, who we can go to, who we can open up completely to. But we have to understand that we're going to have to eventually stand on our own 2 feet once we understand what the situation is, because there are people who find themselves in the same exact situation year in and year out. What happened, baby? This might be like an older woman that knows you. You're a woman, right? And there's this older woman, no fun, no hanky panky, but you go to her all the time. She's a mother figure. Maybe your mother's alive, you have aunts, but you can't tell your mother the things you tell this friend. So she's like, what happened, baby? Well, I was dealing with this new guy. His name is Frankie. I was dealing with him, and I found out he was cheating, and he's been taking all my money. Taking all your money? When did you realize this? Well, I've been giving him money to help him out with his rent and his car note and so on. How long? Last 6 months. Why did you do this? And he's cheating on you? But this happened to you last year. This happened to you the year before. No, the year before it happened twice. This is a pattern. So this woman who's giving you the advice, she's going to have to cut you off because you haven't learned. It's like when you're in school, in elementary school, and you didn't do you didn't pass the test, but you got that teacher who passes you. They're not doing you anything good. You get mad when they leave you back, and you got to repeat that same grade. That's the best thing for you so you can learn. But we have people who give us advice who are also enablers, because maybe the advice giver is getting something from you. We have a lot of manipulative advice givers who are there for you. And every time you give them advice, you're taking them to a swanky restaurant, a 5-star restaurant that they could never afford or don't want to afford. So they're glad between bites to help you out, to help you with your issues. And they give good advice. You're like, oh, I'm so glad to have a friend like you. You really helped me out. Let me tip the waiter. And you sitting here burping up expensive food. Not burping up and spitting out, burping and swallowing it back down. Don't tell me you don't do that. That's the way it is. So from every angle, we have to be careful. The people that we have around us and, how they can manipulate. We just don't know. We just don't know. Let's go on to the next point. Celebrity obsessions, idolizing the unreachable. From musicians to actors, celebrity worship often fills a void. The unattainability of these figures makes the dopamine rush even stronger when you consume their content or fantasize about meeting them. Example, the teenager who obsessively follows every move of their favorite pop star, believing they understand them better than anyone else. And it doesn't just have to be a teenager. And it doesn't have to be a super celebrity. I ain't no celebrity. I've had people jump up, oh my God, LANCESCURV. I'm looking around like, who are they talking to? I'm like, who is Lance? Oh, that's me. I'm like, whoa. So now this thing is not just reserved for the so-called celebrities that we saw on TV and the movies. It's also social media, right? And you have those people who have the obsession and they know you and they understand you and they just pour out their heart. God bless them. Please, if you're a social media influencer, don't take advantage of that. But a lot of people do. Women may come and truly respect you. You have dudes who are like, look at that. Yeah, you like me? What hotel room you in? It happens. There are a lot of horror stories out here. There are people who I've known personally, I'm not going to say no names and you wouldn't know it anyway, that they connected with a particular influencer and one of the influencer's crew. I can't say under them because there's no hierarchy, but not the one who has the most fame, but a person in that influencer's circle got with this woman and got her pregnant, all on the strength of that person's connection to the influencer. It's a wacky world out here. Don't think because you may not think certain ways or do certain things. There are people who follow celebrities, and we've heard these stories. Just look at the amount of gossip rags out there. Hollywood, music industry, gossip, periodicals, websites, spilling the tea on things. We got to understand these people are normal people. They're promoted. They're pushed out there. Anybody can be famous in this world that way if enough money is invested in promoting them and who they are. That's all it is. And what's in our head that makes us think that there's so much above, you know? And remember, half the time it's an illusion. Think of your favorite celebrity who you admire the most, sitting up on your toilet bowl, stinking up the bathroom. You can't imagine that. But that would break the illusion. Imagine your favorite celebrity walking up to you and it's the opposite sex and they hug and kiss you and their breath stink. That would break the illusion. There's a lot of things that could break the illusion, and sometimes we get shocked when we find out things that they do or situations that they're in. Because we're in this society, especially in the Western world, we're taught to be that way with these so-called influencers or celebrities. And who made them a celebrity? You're a celebrity. You're a celebrity to your children. You should be. You're a celebrity to your community, not just to be a celebrity, but one who is where you can reach out to you, touch you, and you have an effect positively on their lives. These so-called celebrities, what are they doing for you? They ain't doing nothing for you. They might do something charity-wise or to bring down their income by giving something away as a tax write-off. Don't think Oprah was so sweet. She was making so much money at one time, she'd have to give away a bunch of cars. She never gave them to us. She always gave them to them other women. Hey, wait a second, why don't you swing around my neighborhood and throw me a car? Next point. Revenge attachments, fixating on the ex. Breakups often leave a dopamine void. In some cases, this results in obsessively tracking an ex's move, replaying old memories and yearning for reconciliation. Example, checking your ex's Instagram multiple times a day or staging run-ins just to feel their presence again, even though the relationship was toxic and the relationship was over. Now, in this day and age, it's so much more easier to maintain these attachments, these revenge attachments. Because when you can look at their Instagram or their Facebook or their TikTok, but you can't do it no more until Trump puts it back if he can, YouTube, whatever, you get that feeling. And then you begin to play the old songs because, see, really and truly, it's easy to be trapped in an alternate reality of our own making. We go back and we think about an old girlfriend, old boyfriend, whatever your sex is, whatever you're into, and we go back and play that song. And we're there again. Which, if you use the technology in a healthy way, it's a good thing, but not to sit up and fixate on a dead relationship where the person is alive, on a relationship that was toxic. Of course, you're going to say, well, there were some good times that we had. And I appreciate that. And you do have memories. You're going to hear a song. You're going to think of a person, that person maybe, but it's fleeting. Especially if your life now is fulfilling or you're pursuing something in the present. And with these types of people that I see, they're never pursuing nothing in the present because nothing is better to me than today. The sun is still shining. I have another show scheduled a couple hours from now, and when in the middle of the night for me, Malik Aziz, the Muslim Streets, I'm running it for him. I'm going to go out and do some shorts. I'm going to go back and peel more potatoes. I had some potatoes yesterday. The potatoes were good. I'm going to peel some more. I'm going to do some shorts. I'm going to do another vertical recording. I'm having a ball today. What's today's date? January 19th, Sunday. It's 3:55 for me. So what is that? Was that 9:55 for you over there on the East Coast? The morning time. It's morning time. I love today. It's what I have. It's what the Creator gave me. I'm not going to turn my back on today to fantasize about something that is dead and gone. The person might be alive. It's not happening no more. You might run into them, show them respect, and keep it moving. But to sit home for hours, oh, let's just say the girl's name. I'm a man, and say the girl's name was Gloria. Oh, Gloria, I remember back in 1980 when we were walking down the street and, oh, this song, those were the best days of my life. Like I said before, then jump in a damn coffin. I'm excited about today. The day that these guys came and helped lay these stones on the wall all over this place. The day I painted my stripes the same way I had in Orlando and said, boy, I'm bringing back not just the memory, but the present day, but the nostalgic feel of those hazard stripes behind me. I've come through so much to get back to this point. It wouldn't be denied. I had no time to sit here and say, oh, well, that was, look, I left a beautiful home, Mr. SCURV and I, to come out here to pursue something bigger and better and more fulfilling and less to no stress. The success is there no matter how many obstacles or betrayals happen. It made the victory sweeter because we kept the focus on the future, the near future, and each day is a building block to build a better reality. You ain't going to get there by sitting, oh, I remember the person of your dreams, if I can say that, right? The person who's meant for you, who's to fit with you, might be right there next to you, and you're not seeing them because, oh, I'm thinking about the good old days 30 or 40 years ago. It's not like that anymore. Well, you might as well cuss God, because that's what you're doing. He gave you another day with good health, and you sitting here letting the day go by thinking about something that's gone and dead. It ain't never going to happen no more. That's annoying. And then they want you to lock arms with them and do this dance. Oh, what about you? I'm like, I don't know. Get off of me. I got something to do today. And you ain't spreading that mindset to me. You know, this is very real for me. This is why I'm talking this way. I can't stand it. Let's get to the next point. I'm going to freak out. Addictions to groups. The comfort of community. Uh-oh. Dopamine addiction isn't limited to individuals. It can extend to groups. This is common in cults or overly tight-knit social circles where people become reliant on the group dynamic for identity. Example, someone who finds meaning in an exclusive community might become so attached that leaving feels like a personal failure, even if the group becomes toxic. Yeah. And we have a lot of that. Let me tell you something. It's not even just on social media. It's in church. Long before you knew what a mouse was, when a mouse was something that ran across the floor. Let's just pick on the church. Hey, SCURV, you ain't talking about the black church in a long time. Well, we're going to talk about it now in the same way that we talk about the obsessions with groups. Even when the group becomes toxic, didn't that remind you of the old black church? Well, not the old black church, but this thing from the last 40 years, whatever, where pastors became celebrities and first ladies. How am I going to call some next woman a first lady and I got a wife? A woman going to go to a pastor because you're having marital issues in your marriage. And you're going to tell him every detail of what's not happening in your bedroom. And you wonder why pastors are doing things with half the congregation. Well, pastor, I have a freakish side to me, and I like putting things in my mouth, and he won't let me do it. Oh, he won't let you do it? Really? You really like that? Listen, let me lock my door and let's talk about this a little more in detail. That's how it happens. But the obsession with groups is easy now because groups can form not based on a geographical commonality, because you're in close proximity, because you live in the same neighborhood. So you kind of go to the same church, you run into the supermarket, run into certain people. Oh, you're going to be there on Wednesday? We have a special service at night. Yeah, we're going to be. So it gives you an identity. And there's nothing wrong with it if it's not toxic or you're not depending on it too much. Because take away the whole supposedly spiritual aspect of church, supposedly, because that's what you're there for, not religion. You can be religious and brushing your teeth. There's some of us who are not religious enough and wiping our backside. Oh man, you need to be more religious that way. So for a lot of older folks who don't have big family and an ever diminishing social circle, church keeps them alive. They're not there to serve the Lord lots of times. You know, they take 4 and 5 hours getting ready, give some life. They get up early in the morning. They try on 10 different church hats. They put in an outfit, is my butt big? They're making sure everything, and they step it. And they sit there, and they don't want to come home. They stay in the parking lot for 5 hours, but the service was 1.5 hours. Then they stay together and go eat. Then they stay in that parking lot. And they getting home from church 11:30 at night because of the group, the obsession with the group that gives them identity, because within themselves, they don't have an identity. They don't have a sense of self. You see, so these things will give them that dopamine dependency hit. And then here come the phone call. Actually, from the eatery, the restaurant, 11:30. Did you hear what Shirley said about Sister Bumpers? I don't know. But she said, now you're on the phone till 3 in the morning. That's your whole day. And you put your head down to pray. Wasn't to pray the Lord because you was tired from being up on the phone, gossiping all night, because you want that dopamine hit. But it can happen even worse online, because you don't have to be near the person. All kinds of groups are forming. You know, on the social media platform called Mastodon, and now Blue Sky, a lot of them are going to. Now, I try to stay on many social media platforms where you have different kinds of groups. So when I do different content, whether it's a written article, a piece of artwork, or a random video, not just like a show, but something random that I'll put up here and there, because I don't put everything up on every platform, right? But I check out the feedback. And there are groups within Mastodon, and that's a Twitter, Facebook, like not really Facebook, but people post their ideas and post things. It's a little more open-minded, meaning that you might see some nudity. It's not a sex thing, but it's more adult. Blue Sky, I found out, is basically a democratic, liberal type, whatever, but they buy things too. They enjoy different types of content too. I share stuff there. There was one that on name alone, when I joined it, I forgot what it was. It's not popular. I can guarantee you don't even know the name of it. It's some little closed in kind of, not Hicktown, meaning there's actually Hicks that are there, but it had that feel where it's this tight knit group. As soon as I walked through the door, oh no, they're banning me. I'm like, what did I do? I'm just checking things out. So you have those kind of groups. And these groups make it where you're walking around with stuff in your head, and it's helping to flavor your view of the world, which doesn't have to be a bad thing if they're enlightening you to be a better person. But a lot of these groups help us to become more toxic within who we are. So social media can also be a crack pipe. You're walking around, seeing the world a certain way, all messed up. And somebody meets you and thinks you're the best person in the world, not realizing how messed up in the head you are, filling your voids with cheap filler, instead of trying to heal yourself and fill those voids righteously. Dopamine dependency. You meet somebody who's good for you. I'm not even talking about a relationship, but just a friendship that can help you and you can help them. It doesn't mean if you have voids that you don't have good things about you, they can't help the world, but because you have this layer of these thoughts in your head, from people you don't even know who are influencing you, where the stuff that they say sounds good to you. Now you jacking up your real face-to-face life where you can touch, and I don't mean sexual, but you mean that too, but just where you can reach out and vibe with people. What if what if all the internet was shut down? I couldn't do a LANCESCURV show. You couldn't check the stocks. You couldn't check your retirement. You couldn't check the news. You couldn't check. And you like this at home. Imagine that. You looking at your phone. Did it come back on yet? It ain't coming back on yet. Ain't got no internet. What you gonna do? You might have a local phone that you can pick up a phone and talk to. What if they shut down your smartphone? What you gonna do? Now you're gonna want to talk to somebody in real life. Now you're forced to think things instead of waking up first thing in the morning and grabbing your phone. We grab our phone before we grab our genitals and make sure it's clean. We have more of a relationship with our phone than we do with things we're supposed to have a relationship with. First thing, half asleep, you ain't wiped the stuff out your eye yet, and you going through your timeline. You watching somebody, seeing what they did. People you don't know, you watching and fixating on them. Feeling bad because they're doing good. You don't know what they had to go through to get to that point. What I'm saying is that we're all affected. We all took a hit on that crack pipe called social media, and a lot of us depend on it for that dopamine hit. It affects our brains. It's warped our view. That's why every day I got to go in the backyard or go in the balcony and leave everything. I might take off all my clothes and walk out there barefoot. Nothing. No cell phone, no jewelry. I don't wear jewelry, no way. No nothing. And sit down in the chair just to bring myself back. To doodle out all of the stuff that's in my head. There's a lot. It's all not bad, but you need to put down those packages sometime and say, hey, let me not lose my inner GPS of where I should be as a person. You find yourself staring at the ceiling, trying to sleep. You got to go back and grab that phone again. You got a problem. These days, more so, I have set up more social media boundaries. By the time a certain time comes, I'm out. Sometimes, lots of times during the day, there's a time that I don't even pick up the phone unless I'm expecting a call. I'm not just going to let the wind blow and I blow that way. The wind blows, I blow. And I'm on here a lot, y'all. I do a lot of content. I've done a lot of content. Y'all know that. To plan this stuff, to write this stuff out, to get the graphics right, to create the banners, to set up a time. Okay, I got to eat before I do this. Let me clear out my stomach so I have to interrupt the show and go to the bathroom. Let me do this. And then after the show, I got to take the audio and convert it to a different file size and shoot it out to a different. So while I'm doing the repetitious stuff, I might be on a personal phone call, enjoying that the stuff repetition in it. There was a time last year where some line got cut off the coast of Africa. I think it's a bunch of bull crap. I didn't have internet for 3 days. You think I was crying? I was thrown off because of my schedule of what I wanted to do. What did I do? I got my pen. I got a piece of paper. I started drawing. I never lose touch with who I am and what I can do. And a lot of us, our lives depend on this thing so much that if we were to pull the rug from under us of social media, a lot of us would not know what to do. Here's another one. Caregiving obsessions, healing through projection. Some people develop an attachment to caregivers, projecting their unmet needs onto someone who provides support, whether emotional. Example, a patient might develop feelings for their therapist, mistaking professional empathy for romantic connection. This is a classic example of transference, where past wounds color present relationships. Ooh, it's true. It's true. You can fall in love with that person giving you advice, that professional therapist, or that person who is able to help you. it feels so good that a person focuses on you and focuses on the things you're going through. But that doesn't mean that, we come up with this stuff. And it's almost predictable because whenever you throw a bunch of people together with their various voids, look at it this way. We all know those situations where in a church with a regular group, on a job with a regular group, maybe a close-knit neighborhood or apartment building where there's regular people there who might be retired or some unemployed, but they're regular people. They're all walking around with their voids. We all have voids. We shrink them like cancers and try to get rid of them, but sometimes they come back and sometimes they disappear. Sometimes we get a control over them. But how many times have you seen a situation where you throw people together and they end up getting with each other, which under certain situations may not be bad, but it's because they have their voids and it's not them themselves attracted to the person, but it seems like you can fill my void and I can fill yours, but it's not a real attraction. We catch them. Oh, I saw them parked on the street in the backseat of this car. And it always ends up sexual, but it's not really a sexual thing. That's why I love human nature. I love to study it. I'm no professional. I don't have any degrees or anything like that. I just like to observe and watch like the chemical reaction, because everybody is like a chemical, right? And I've said this before. Maybe you heard me say this before. In science class, chemistry, you have different substances in a vial, right? Liquid. And the science teacher would get up and say, well, this is this particular element, and here's this element. And you pour these different chemicals together, nothing happens. You take that same original vial of that liquid, another one that's not tainted with the other experimental thing that didn't have any explosion. This guy puts on goggles, he puts on all kind of stuff, and he puts a drop of it in. Woof, it explodes. That's how people are, right? You never know the reaction you get from their presence in your life. You sometimes can't explain it. You could meet somebody on the first day and find yourself entangled with them physically, professing lifelong love while you just getting it. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna love you forever. Oh my God. Why is that? It's that chemical reaction. And you can have somebody pursuing you for 10 years. And here's someone, oh God, here comes this guy again. I see them flowers, he's bringing me flowers. He ain't charming me. He might genuinely love you, but you don't have the chemical reaction. That's amazing to me. You can't study it. You can study it, but you never know where it's going to rear its ugly head. There's a woman I know, right? Excuse me for wiping my face with this shirt. I'm too lazy to go upstairs and get my rag. There's a woman who lived with two other women that I knew personally, right? My old girlfriend used to do hair. And so all three of them used to come to get their hair done. So I'd come in and slide in on the little salon area there and kind of hear the latest, right? And two out of the three were party girls. They weren't fast, they weren't like loose, but they loved to dress up. And, I don't mind a woman who loves to get into a feminine side and, how attractive she is and as long as it doesn't get out of hand. They were like that. Even though they did have some steamy stories. They spoke all in front of me. I said, listen, treat me like I'm one of your girlfriends, right? My ear is like a satellite dish, listen to this juicy stuff, but it wasn't out of hand. The other roommate never went out with them. These girls, they weren't overly done with their makeup or overly done. They were sexy. They showed their bodies. But it was more playful, and it wasn't so like, I'm gonna go out and find a man to go to bed with tonight. The other woman, she didn't do anything to her face. Doesn't mean that's not beautiful, because I like playing personally, right? She worked a corporate job, lots of overtime. She had these thick glasses on. I'm going to tell it. Her face she was a nice looking woman, but it wasn't like, oh my God, she's a drop dead gorgeous, whatever. She was skinny. She always wore this tight trench coat. And when she had the trench coat off, right? Then she didn't really have, she was built like olive oil. I'm not knocking you if you built like olive oil. I'm just saying, in contrast to these shapely damsels that had to go to a club every weekend and went to restaurants and dated guys and stuff like that. And she stayed in. She was also going to school, college, full-time college, full-time job. She contributed to the apartment. They all had their room. They never saw her with another man or a man. They never saw any male company. She didn't have time for it. Even they knew that her schedule. And when she was free, she was studying. The most she might do on a Saturday night was pick up the phone and order for a pizza. And they were there. And she would get extra pizza for them, and then she'd go to sleep. Talk about the Virgin Mary. How did she end up pregnant? Even I knew her schedule. I wasn't nosy like that, but she ended up pregnant. Who's the guy? You just never know. That chemical reaction. Maybe she met the guy and the trench coat came flying off and passion and heaven's gates opened up wide. Because she had a baby. She held her own. She stayed with them for a while and they helped out with her. And she paid them like she would pay a daycare sometime, the babysit, whatever. But she was there most of the time. And she had other people help. Then she ended up pregnant again. But nobody ever knew who the man was, and she wasn't saying. So look, it doesn't take long to do a little thing, you know. People think it has to be this. No, it could be like chemical reaction, the dopamine dependency. That's what I'm talking about. You never know when that thing is going to erupt and when you're going to need. Now to explain the illustration that you see in front of you is that this guy is so attracted to this woman. Now you would never know that by looking at it, but she has a big behind dagger behind his back. She's no good for him, but he thinks she is. And she's got that Hollywood smile. So we don't even know. We may be getting a big dopamine hit and feel so good about the person. And they may not be plotting and planning on doing, but they just might not be good for us. Healing the dopamine disorder. Dopamine addiction to people is not a character flaw, but a symptom of modern society's failure to nurture genuine, meaningful connections. Understanding the root cause, be it loneliness, childhood trauma, or societal pressures, can help break the cycle. By recognizing these patterns, we can start fostering healthier relationships that bring joy without dependence. Imagine that. A relationship that helps you really to bring joy and not dependence. Isn't that something? Joy and not dependence. I have to say that over again. Because how many of us are in relationships where it's all about dependence? You break up and the first thing you say is, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Or you were with them because you were dependent on them. If you think that, now, yeah, we can be with each other and have plans and, you know, kind of say, well, what am I going to do? Let me just give acknowledgement to everybody who was here, who I didn't see because I was running my trap. And on YouTube, Gina E, welcome on in. KW. Yes, there was an episode of Different Strokes, no pun intended. I know that came from earlier, right? KW, Shirley Kason. Wow, there's a guy I used to work with named Corporal Kason. I was looking for him to see if I can find this. He's a cool guy. I was thinking about him from Apopka in Florida. Double A Vibes. Yes, Kofi. Good to see you. And Sarah on Facebook. Nice to see you here. Hope Rice, the only Rice that I F's with. Say it from the mountaintop. And the beautiful Sweet D. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad. I put the link out for those who may want to pop in and say something. If you do, it's not mandatory. You might be sitting down, enjoying a little cup of ice cream and don't want to get up and get on the phone or whatever. And then we have our friends over here on Instagram. And if you want to get on Instagram, you can hit me on my You want to come on the show, I have to connect it up via Bluetooth. I'm going to put the phone number there, which all of you who are regulars on the show should have the phone number locked in just in case you want to come in. So I put that there. In Instagram, you can call that number, although I have my ringer cut off. I'm going to cut it back on. I'll see it if it does ring, right? And I have to connect it in. Take a second if you want to. If you want to come on, that's cool. Sarah B. What does Sarah B say here? Haha, another Sarah. Yeah, don't know how I got here, but it was for me. Thanks. Well, I'm glad. Make sure to subscribe before you go and like it and share it, right? Because we're going to do shows like this. And I have another one coming up in 5 hours. No, not 5 hours. What am I saying? 2 hours and 39 minutes. The title of that one is, I think I had it. Where is it? What is it there? It's another trauma-based show and human nature show and type thing like that. But Sarah Olerke, yeah, look, here's her name. That's what. 2 Sarahs in the show. I'm so blessed. I see if this was a number or something that was similar. I got to go out there and play that number. I don't know what it means. Wow, really? There is a snowstorm coming to what? Oh, wow. I'm out of touch with a lot of things in the States. I keep up with as much as I can, but it's funny because I got a t-shirt and shorts on and you know what I mean? So in that respect, I'm kind of losing it, but that's what it is, you know? Queen J, welcome on in. I see you. Pam's Purpose, Revamper, if that's what I'm saying. Discern 24, Arakem B 54, Mozinga, IG, Franklin, Stan. There are more that I'd have to scroll up endlessly and whatnot. I'm going to wrap this down in a second unless anybody wants to come on in. We'll be back in just like 2.5 hours. It's out there. It's on YouTube. I'm going to set it up on Instagram. I'm going to catch some of the sunlight and get a few shorts in. And later on, I'll do a vertical live. YouTube tells us to do that. Spread your stuff out. And so that's what I'm going to do. Right. So you got to subscribe and hit the bell icon and get all of the shows and everything, because there's going to be a lot that I throw up. I might wake up in the middle of the night and say, I'm doing a show. I'm going live. I'm going to go down to the studio and put the lights on and do a live. I don't know. Those days are coming. You waking up, man, like, Scurv, I didn't know you did a show last night. You didn't say. I didn't know it either. The Lord told me. I got the download, right? But anyway, I'm going to wrap this down. I'm glad you were here. I'm so thankful for your presence and your support just being here. You know, there's a thought that I have, though. What's his name? What's his, Abraham? What's his last name? It starts with a T. The president of Burkina Faso. That brother's a real leader. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that, comparing him to the fake behind, slick talking, cash app hungry influencers from America, as opposed to a man who, you know, runs the country at 35 years old. Why don't them two get together? Why doesn't the dude always asking for cash apps reach out to him if he knows so much? You know, to me, it makes him look more like a Fed, because we know that, you know, this president, Burkina Faso, who kicked out the French, changed all the names from French names to African names on all the monuments and streets, and the court system stopped him from wearing that stupid behind blonde wig, a sign of subservience and submission. But you got a person who's got millions of dollars and can't build what he said he wants to build. Why don't you get with him? You can't, because the country owns you behind to keep us talking and rah, 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 but never take action. Let's get with the leaders who take action. Let's get with the leaders who are not begging money. Malcolm X didn't have a YouTube page and a Cash App. Maybe he would have, but he would have did something better with it. He did what he did without asking for anything and died broke and had beautiful girls and a beautiful wife. Where's the sacrifice these days, right? Too much ego. You got to slay the ego. You got to be real about what you do day in and day out. Seen and unseen good things that you do for the people. You're not looking for notoriety. What happened to that? I'm going to talk about that today. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to grab a bite to eat. I'm going to do a few things. I know the time is going to fly and I'll be right back. I got to peel some potatoes. I got to do my chores. I got to make certain things happen. But there's the contact information there. And as always, it's always a pleasure. I want to thank you all for coming. Much love to you all. LANCESCURV out. Peace.
Hello, this is Martha. Actually, today I got to meet my friend Lance. Yes, I got to meet my friend Lance. This is my first time meeting him in person, and he's a very kind man, seriously. I do talk with him on phone, on WhatsApp, but I've never got to meet him. But today, he's just extraordinary. He's very, anything you want to know about life, anything you want to know about just human, anything you want to know about life, please. YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media channels, you got to find him there. He's very inspiring. He's very positive. If you want anything positive about life, please subscribe to LANCESCURV. And then every day you got to see different videos, different talks, different topics about life. See you.